We are in a Monopoly type simulation game. Let's break through the dome into prime Earth. I dedicate this video to my perfect father and posting all three videos on his birthday, January 22nd. When I was around 10 years old, I remember asking myself the following questions. Who am I? What is this work, suffer, age, and die thing all about? Why am I here on earth? What is the purpose of all this? And finally, paradise? With angels playing harp all around me as I live perpetually in a boring bliss? I can clearly remember asking myself these questions as I'm standing in front of my grandmother's Eva's garden at Baturyn, the Ukrainian PLAST camp where my parents bought a lot and built a summer home. My sister, brother, and I would spend our summers there with our mother Marika. Our grandmother Eva and my father Bohdan would drive up from Montreal every weekend, and both spent the entire weekend working on the garden and the land. I did not spend a lot of time pondering on these questions over the years, but I am certain there are many of us asking ourselves these questions. Today I'm 62, born in 1962. 6 plus 2 equals 8. I just completed the 8th year of the 9-year numerological cycle. My birth date is March 6th. We just completed 2024. 3 plus 6 plus 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 4 equals 17. 1 plus 7 equals 8. Now, in 2025, I am in the 9th year of my cycle. My birthday number is 9. The number 8 is the sign of infinity, and 2024 was my 8th cycle year, which ended up being an immense year for me. I found the courage to complete my exit out of the 3D Monopoly simulation game. I am now in 4D, in the 4th dimension, or on the 4th floor, level 6, light, of the 7 levels of awareness. I will describe a very condensed version of my simulation game journey. I trust that this video will provide the viewer with concrete answers to some of the many questions we have asked ourselves over the years. Most people believe that being conscious is being able to think straight. To them, mind and consciousness are similar. I think, therefore I am. Strangely, the creators of atomic bombs and guided missiles are very bright thinkers, but not at all conscious of their actions. Others compare consciousness to morality and fall into the trap of right and wrong. Now that I'm on the brink of disaster, on an agonizing planet, I need the real definition of consciousness. For me, consciousness is my level of awareness concerning the reality inherent in all that exists. Idessa, unlimited creatrix. As I grow in consciousness, I become more aware of the real world. Reality is what truly exists. It is a non-distorted perception of all that is visible, invisible, past, present, and future. Most human beings perceive a very small portion of the world, 0.5% according to physicist Williana Conforto. Since I base my actions on the information I receive from my 5 very limited senses, it is difficult for me to tell the difference between what is real and what is not. The reality is that there exists one soul, spirit, the creator of all, which manifests through an infinite number of different shapes and vibrations. Anything else belongs to the world of illusion that I perceive more or less precisely according to my level of consciousness. I can compare consciousness to an elevator. The higher I get, the further I see, and the better I perceive the reality that surrounds me. As my consciousness grows, I see things from a higher perspective. This growth in consciousness always has a double effect. First, it allows a true perception of who I am and what surrounds me. Then it creates a dynamic and creative energy which brings about the proper action. Because of David Icke, I open my eyes and consider the possibility that human reality is a virtual reality simulation designed to entrap perception. I started reading David's books in 2002, and in early 2024, Lee was able to get me the audiobooks, The Trap and The Dream. Both of these books were instrumental in allowing me to create a visual in my mind of human life in the simulation game, and specifically my journey, which I will describe here. David is also the one who mentions the dome. We are trapped in the dome, the simulation. Death does not allow us to leave the dome imprisonment. Death only gives the soul some time away from the board game and allows the soul to plan the details of her next trip on the board game. I raise my level of consciousness through my experiences in every single lifetime. I probably lived thousands of lifetimes on Earth. Earth's vibrational frequency is now rising exponentially, and humanity is awakening in large numbers. This gives humanity the opportunity to reach the needed critical mass of humans needed in order to raise the collective vibrational frequency level to the point of reversal. The dome has been created by evil, an inverted consciousness. It is an upside down world, a construct, a copy of prime reality. Right now, humanity has an energy window, but this window will eventually close and may not reopen for another 25,000 years. I created one video on how the system was set up, and the other video on the time wave spirals. Please consult my channels. Recently, I was going through my files and found this article written in Spanish. I was moved to make a video. Book of Life or Book of Death? Where are you listed? Gabriel de la Luz wrote, "Artificial intelligence needs to keep you fooled in order to control you, not only by programming a religious mindset, but also through a misperception of the world around you. They made us believe that this plain planet is round and not flat." I was in alignment with everything Gabriel wrote, but this flat earth comment initially bothered me. However, after a while, my mental and emotional bodies got out of the way, and that is when I thought of looking on the internet for images of flat earth. The flat earth images came up in combination with a variety of dome images. I am a visual person. With these images, my mind started running, as it always does in its hamster wheel. And that is when I was moved to look for images of the Monopoly game. Concrete thoughts were coming together like pieces of a puzzle, and I will describe this imagery as best as I can. I can never remember any of my lifetimes on Earth, because all memory is wiped out with the disintegration of my physical, vital, and mental bodies. However, during every lifetime, through trials and tribulations, I, the eternal soul, accumulates wisdom, and I raise my level of consciousness a certain amount. After the death of my three bodies, my eternal soul rests a little bit, but she remains trapped under the dome. Then, my soul starts planning her next journey to Earth, back into the simulation. Most importantly, I choose my parents and the time frame of my body's manifestation on Earth. Further, through my choice of parents, I know what city and country I will live in, the siblings and grandparents I will have, what cultural, national background I will have, the husband or husbands I will have, the children I will give birth to, and so on. Of course, all these souls agree to cooperate together during this particular lifetime. On March 6, 1962, my body appeared on Go. And every year, on that date, I was back on Go. The Monopoly board is on the grass of the stadium. There are 4 levels of bleachers around the Monopoly board, which correspond to the floors of the tower. Normal human life consists of going around the board game and living various experiences as time goes on. Many of the experiences related to family, religion, sports, and national traditions are amazingly beautiful. They provide humanity with superb memories, which are recorded on pictures, and this creates a deep emotional attachment to the game. Of course, humanity has absolutely no idea they are in a game, and therefore they fear death. As I pondered on the crucial events of my life, I realized that these were the moments when I was given the opportunity to make leaps in my level of consciousness. Here is the image of the levels of awareness. Most of humanity is on the ground floor, their entire lifetime, going around the Monopoly board game. From this floor, there is very limited potential to see anything. One can barely see the flowers and possibly a little of the bottom of the wall. This is why billions of people can be so easily manipulated by evil, which is extremely intelligent and clever. Humanity simply can't see. Even when I explain something with great visuals and confirmed facts, the person who may find the courage to listen still can't hear or see anything. This is all due to their level of awareness. In fact, just about everyone in my family, with the exception of my sister and mother, could not even listen to me, much less hear or see anything. Their heads are deeply buried in the sand. The basement is the level of plant and animal consciousness. Their mental and vital bodies are barely developed. Animals can't break out of the dome. Only humans, with their intelligent mind, have the potential to break out of the matrix. Back to my journey. In December 2011, Lee and I were arrested for failure to pay income tax. Because we both realized that we can't fight evil, Lee accepted a 5-year sentence and I accepted a 2-year, 4-month sentence. I lived the jail experience and the disappearance, piece by piece, of my very beautiful and successful life, along with all of my wealth, at the awareness of the first floor of the tower. I stopped paying and participating in this aspect of the game the moment I learned the truth about income tax. I understood that 100% of income tax goes into the pockets of the elite, and it is used for enslavement, wars, and absolute control of humanity. It became immediately obvious to me that indirectly, through my compliance, I was responsible for all the evil of this world. Today, I know that when I made the decision to stop paying income tax in 2003, I symbolically partially left the board game and was now sitting in the first level of the spectator seats. The Canadian system knew that I was deeply attached to my family. They did not imagine for a second that I would choose the complete unknown and myself over my family. The next big decisive moment came when I understood that they wanted me back, working as a dentist, and not only paying the normal yearly income tax, but paying back the unpaid tax with huge fees and penalties, which amounted to over $5 million. The system had confiscated all of my wealth except the property in Costa Rica, which I had transferred 100% of ownership to Lee before our arrest, and therefore they could not steal that property from us. At this point, I was 54 years old and could not possibly pay off $5 million in my lifetime. The system simply needed me to make an example of in order to scare everyone else into absolute compliance. I knew that the legal system has immense powers and that they could also change or manipulate the law as they see fit. Little me had to face Goliath. I left Canada, knowing full well that I could never return. With this conscious decision, I jumped another level of awareness onto the second floor of the tower. The challenges Lee and I faced in Costa Rica, Ecuador, and Colombia were immense. Just learning a new language at the age of 55 was extremely difficult for me. Lee, an American who only speaks English, did not have the capacity at age 60 to learn a new language. I spoke three languages: Ukrainian, French, and English, and therefore I did have the capacity to learn another language, but it was definitely not easy. I will not describe in detail my third springboard experience, although it is somewhat amusing. When, in 2018, Leah and I drove back to Ecuador from Colombia with our new truck to pick up our furniture, I was detained on the Colombian side, checking back into Colombia. At that time, Lee and I had visas for Colombia and were completely aligned with the law. The Canadian government put out a red flag on my name, and Colombia was obliged to deport me if I had done something criminal. Interpol informed me that Colombia had 5 days to check out my history and either allow me to stay in Colombia or deport me back to Canada. We had just completed the construction of our house. However, Lee could not possibly live alone in Colombia without me. I was in deep fear. My ego temporarily took back full control of my body. I was convinced that I will be sent back to Canada to serve another jail sentence, but this time it would be 5 years. At the time, what I did not consciously understand was that every time I go up a floor in conscious awareness and the knowing of who I am, the evil system loses its hold on me. I vibrate at a frequency level that is beyond their reach. Although the detention experience in Colombia was horrible, it only lasted 3 days. After 3 days, the two wonderful young men of Interpol informed me that non-payment of income tax was not a criminal offense, and therefore I was free to stay in Colombia. It is impossible to describe my emotions at that time. Yet, I can say that I knew who I am, the creatrix of every detail that unfolds in my life, and therefore I created every single challenging ordeal in order to propel my consciousness higher. I ended up in detention a second time, trying to travel to Ecuador, but only for a day and a half. But at that time, I had to give up my Colombian visa. That is when I springboarded onto the third floor of the tower. That was in 2019. I was almost completely out of the Monopoly board game because I no longer had a single legal attachment in existence. My passport had expired, and clearly I did not even attempt to renew it. The final decision came in June of 2024. Over the years, I continued to have contact with my mother and sister on a regular basis. Between 2020 and 2024, because of my desperate attempts to stop my loved ones from accepting the jabs, I managed to irritate my children and brother to the point where there is virtually no more contact with them. I also knew that I was irritating my mother with every weekly call. She called it my preaching. That is also when I read David Icke's books, The Trap and the Dream. Finally, ZSG talked a lot about the movie The Truman Show. That is when all the pieces of the imagery of the simulation started to create a very clear picture. The final and strongest attachment is without a doubt the family attachment. I called my mother Marika for the first time and deeply hurt her. I then realized that I had to try and somehow explain my decision to her. So I made a video. I'm out of the matrix. My mother thanked me and told me she watched it 3 times and still cannot understand what I'm trying to explain. I understand that my mother, my sister, my brother, and my children cannot see anything because they are in the Monopoly game on the ground floor. I have to accept this. I cannot save them because I'm not their savior. They are all perfect souls, each one with their own perfect journeys. My ego must be thrown out of the way once and for all. On this 4th floor, in the 4th dimension, I have very little ego left. It still surfaces here and there, but I move it out of the way very quickly and return into peace. I continue to be a spectator of the Monopoly simulation game from the 4th dimension. This 4th floor is also represented by ZSG as the sovereign mayor. My body and soul are unified. Recently, ZSG updated the sphere chart by adding the yellow sheep consciousness and the ego arrows, showing how ego grows and then decreases. Only when I get rid of ego completely, along with the remaining fear, will my body be ready for the reversal. Life without fear or death, invincibility. Soon, I will get rid of my bad habit of being afraid. This is the only way to get out of 3D and into what many call the 5th dimension. I call it prime reality or prime earth. The only way is to energetically break through the simulation limitations, the dome. I am done with dying. and reincarnating into this Monopoly game simulation, insanity. And how about you? Infinite love. From millennium slavery to individual sovereignty. In the Orient, in the 20th century, Sri Aurobindo and the Mother discovered and anchored truth consciousness, the supramental consciousness in the earthly atmosphere. Once well anchored, the new consciousness was ready to move on to the next stage, its popularization and propagation. In the West, in the 21st century emerged personal creatia, the power of the sovereign person to govern oneself. Sri Aurobindo's integral yoga goes beyond individual liberation and undertakes collective transformation on earth. After the death of Sri Aurobindo, the Mother continued their work, and on February 29, 1956, the supramental consciousness was definitely anchored on earth. One single and sincere look at the present world situation is enough to convince anybody that it has reached a point of no return. Humanity is heading towards a monumental dead end. Let's stop repeating our obsolete ways, which can only bring more suffering. Personal creatia continues the diffusion of truth consciousness in the West. Substantial unity replaces the guru-disciple separation. Let us all spread the contagion of love. I'm out of the game. Like Truman in the Truman Show, I have taken my bow and left a world of illusion, this computer simulation to which I have given authority to manage my life. I leave the theater where I have played time and time again the roles of disciple, daughter, parent, dentist, entrepreneur, citizen. Today, I devote myself fully and without limits to spreading individual sovereignty, the truth consciousness that I have been experiencing since 2002. Infinite love.